Welcome to the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast, where we learn about some success stories and some not so successful stories. But either way, we learn. Each episode, we talk with successful real estate agents and vendors about things they have done to make them successful and some things they did that you might want to avoid. Join us for each episode of the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast with your host, Preston Sandlin.
All right, listeners. Well, welcome to the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast. We got an old buddy here of mine. Man, this guy, I love this guy. We've both been around a while, so we're old, Steve.
That's not true as far as you know.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure this guy's baby pictures and my baby pictures are both in black and white. That's how you can tell when you're old. I don't have any color baby pictures.
There it is. I got rid of every mullet picture that I might have had, sir, unlike yourself.
Yeah, and thank goodness the internet wasn't a thing in the 80s.
Oh,
awesome.
My God.
Well, I have Mr. Steve Robinson here. Steve is I don't want to take his thunder, but I mean, good dude, great dude. Real estate instructor, commercial broker. Steve, I'm gonna turn it over to you for the two people in Charlotte that don't know who you are. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Preston, in the first place, thank you, and thank Home Inspection Carolina for this opportunity to sit here with you. It's never something I endure; it's something I enjoy. So when you come in and you sponsor my classes, that's some of the best part of my day because I know how lively and interactive you can make those experiences with them. And hell, it's just good to see you.
Same.
Yeah,
I look forward to this one.
Amen, man. But I'll tell you, I had started when I was going to elementary school in downtown Mount Holly, a little place called Ida Rankin, and I would finish fourth grade and walk a few blocks down to my dad's real estate office. And of course, what beats free labor? So he would put me to work, and I would work on, clients and getting, appointments and answering phones and things like that. And I worked cheap. I think I did it only for orangeades and grilled cheeses. So I'm telling you, it's the wackiest thing. So as you would probably guess, everything just started to come at me the older I got, and I was doing, my first job was in Northern Virginia building commercial shopping centers. And so I've been in construction of some sort since, honest to God, 1983, and learned a whole bunch and got my building contractor's license and all that fun stuff. And then turned 18, got my real estate license, and just really kind of kept it pretty diverse with property management, with commercial property management, residential property management, brokerage and regular residential sales and things, and managing Pop's office. We were building site-built houses in the 90s and developing subdivisions of manufactured homes with FHA paper. And people weren't used to that sort of thing. We were selling them as appreciating real property when the attorneys and the state didn't know what to do, quite honestly. We kind of feel like we almost invented it. I don't know. I still haven't met anybody that was doing it because we had a subdivision off Mount Holly Huntersville Road in Charlotte with city water and sewer with RMH zoning. So the manufactured home zoning was there, and Pop says, well, let's do a subdivision. I'm just like, trailers, awesome. And of course, at the time, I didn't really know. And so we got them put in and started to do them with FHA approved foundations and plans and such. And we wrote paper, man, when rates were 8%. We were doing FHA and bond paper at 4.25% money, 30 notes. I mean, it was unheard of, and it made it affordable, not just for the price point of the house, which has always been historically anywhere from 30 to 45% less than site-built construction, but also, for the fact that you're dealing with folks that are at honestly a lower income bracket, and you're making it that much more affordable for them. And, I go by the subdivision today here over 20 years removed, and it's like mother of pearl, this place is cool. So the deed restrictions that that we had written, that I wrote, and are still working, and people are mowing their grass, and there aren't any junk cars, and it looks like a little subdivision. So it was that and some confusion on modular construction, which is still being worked out today, that got us into some litigation that we were fortunate enough to win. And after that was over, I wrote a CE course and drove it to Raleigh
wow.
to Pam Rory, and she's just like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And I'm just
the,
like,
the real estate queen.
yeah, no, she says, "Dude, you could have just mailed it." And I was just like, "Yeah, but you wouldn't have seen this brand new suit." Yeah. So she was significantly underwhelmed. And
I've had a class with Pam Rory.
Oh, she's awesome, man. She's a beast. You got
she no filter.
No. But she absolutely knows her stuff. And she looked at me and said, "Well, who's going to teach it?" And I was like, "I don't know." She goes, "You want to teach it?" Like, okay. And sure enough, signed me up. It's a whole lot harder to get to be a teacher today. So sure enough, I got underway about this was 2001, and so it's been a long time ago when I got that course approved and started to write some others. Ran into Billy Gallagher at the end of 2002, and he's like, "Steve, why don't you come teach some pre-license for me?" And I'm just,
you do the best. You do the best.
He's my man. I love that guy. But I didn't know that the Bill Gallagher School of Real Estate, he'd been my instructor too over at that other school. And he wanted to start it up, and he didn't have anybody else but him. So we made a schedule, and I'm teaching pre and post and CE for Billy in one part of the state. He's in the other part of the state, and we're traveling and stuff. And it went on for a while, and things go sideways a little bit with the economy and all, and kind of rolled back into town in 2013, I want to say, and ran into him and goes, "Steve, what you do in 2014? And I'm just like, "Well, I guess I'm teaching for you." So I did that for a little bit longer. He sold the school, as everybody knows, a few years ago, and just started to look at it. COVID really gave me that opportunity to kind of stop and look around. It's like, bro, you got a lot of stuff up in your head, and it's great that it happens. So what the hell? I jumped online, I made a website and said, "Hey, this is newriverbrokerage.com." And New River Brokerage is primarily commercial property sales and service and management, and it's also residential if it wants to be. It's also a building service. I have the ability to do manufactured and modular construction on permanent foundations. I apparently am still one of the few people out there that really know how to do this without getting into litigation and making planning and zoning people happy, and getting properties sold that people enjoy and can actually watch, appreciate, and value, and some of it honestly press for investment purposes. I got people coming out of woodwork asking me about that stuff, and it's for real, man. The opportunity to put a few of those door fronts out there, rent those properties, sell the portfolios at future dates and such. And it's pretty enticing, especially as we're still terribly lucky to have so many people flooding in. But that's pretty much everything that I do at newriverbrokerage.com. And you can see on the website and just pick from the service, or sometimes if you're a residential agent, you want to shoot a referral to me, I pay 25% listing selling side. And all that data is on the footer of every single page. And sometimes if you're hunting for me, I could be in another part of the United States working with some clients. I was in Alabama the other day, and I keep options out there. So I'm kind of all over the Southeast, and have license, will travel, that sort of stuff, that sort of thing.
Awesome.
Yeah, it keeps me out of trouble for sure.
So Steve, you grew up in a real estate family, your father,
yeah.
And then you went to Virginia, and you were doing some commercial stuff. And then, you're back in Charlotte now. So you do, obviously New River Education, anybody who needs CE, and you've got that on the website, and I know I sponsored your classes. So now your brokerage does.
You attended one. You were there.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, you've signed off on me a couple of years. Appreciate it.
You only barely fell asleep. It was great. Thank you.
We'll tell you about it. No, it was great. Steve's great. Man. He keeps you laughing. Steve has that kind of humor, though. it's like intelligent humor. It's like sometimes it's like, oh, I see what he did. Like 3 minutes later, I'm like, it takes me a little time to catch up.
Sorry.
No, all good. So, but right now, New River Brokerage. So you obviously have the school, you do commercial, you do residential transactions as well. Now, do you pay if say there's a residential broker out there listening and they come across a commercial deal or something like that, but they're just, don't have the bandwidth or the whatever, do you pay a referral or anything like that? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
No. That's fine. That's all I was mentioning that a second ago at the bottom of the footer page at newriverbrokerage.com. At the bottom of every footer, right there on the footer at the bottom of the page, you'll see something that says NRB referral network or something like that. And then once you touch that, you'll see what options there would be. If it's a residential referral, cool. If it's a management referral, great. If it's a commercial referral, there it is, and the docs are sitting there. So if you have them, you can just touch them and fill out the info and shoot it to me and say, yo, I would pay the 75% of this that you're going to make to not have to deal with these people. The fact that I'll make 25% for waiting for you to have success on it is bonus, to a lot of people. And so it's worked out really, really well. I mean, I've had tens of thousands of dollars worth of stuff that I've sent off to agents, and they dig it because, again, I'm not going to call it free money because you give up the name of somebody, and many times press, I mean, residential agents get a lot of stuff that they think is going to bear fruit, and they send it to me, and it's just like, and sometimes they just don't pan out because they don't know, understandably, the questions to ask and, what some of the motivating factors are and other things. And that's okay. I'm happy to wade through it and see if I can't help them and get them some money. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that leads me to another question. Are you open? You're obviously a knowledgeable guy. You're on top of, you go to the real estate instructors, thing, and you're part of that world, and that's changing, every year there's, updates and the, things change and whatnot. Are you available? Like if, there's a broker out there that just has a question about something like via email or something, just questioning, for general real estate questions, or can someone contact you? I don't mean to put you on the spot. I didn't ask you this ahead of time. You're like, man, don't give out my stuff.
No, it's okay. It's Steve at newriverbrokerage.com. That way, when it's email, I try my best to keep track of it. There are going to be some times when I am hip deep, upside down, gargling peanut butter in the middle of something. And in that case, it might be a solid week. It could be a couple of weeks, shame on me. At points, it's been 3 to 4 weeks. And I've gotten back. There's like, yeah, thanks, Steve. And I'm just like, all right, but I'll try. I'll absolutely have a go at it to be sure. Yeah. So that's the interesting thing about the brokerage business, man. We put people together, in whatever form we hope to have success. That's the purpose of a broker, to put them together and boom, you got business. And I'm okay with that. It doesn't, we make it more complicated because legally it needs to be more complicated, but we tend to lose sight over the fact that sometimes it's just the littlest things that can put you over the top and get you having some success. So yeah, man, send them to me.
Absolutely. Well, good stuff. All right. So I've known you a long time, but prior to doing a podcast, I always do a little low key stalking beforehand. I go read a little bit in the bio and stuff, and I came across something that I have to ask you about. Yeah. You were a head cook or manager of the Ritz-Carlton in Miami, and it looks like you have some restaurant stuff mixed in there. Tell us about that. I got to know more about that. I was like, wow, that's cool.
Well, it was an interesting time, to be sure, but when everything that you've ever done pulled off of real estate in some form, whether it's building or brokerage or management or anything like that, and 2008 hits, and you're watching the class sizes shrink, you're watching the business just zero out and stuff. It's like, bro, you got kids, you got to take care of some things. And so I'd moved to Georgia, as a matter of fact, and realized after a few months there that their market was absolute crap too. And at that point, you're paying bills and you're getting things done, but it's just kind of like, the business isn't really popping very hard. So, I thought about it and I'm just like, well, what can I do? And a lot of my friends, it's like, bro, what do you want to do? I said, I've never really thought about that. I've always just done brokerage because brokerage, was always there, or building or something. And I said, well, I've been watching some cooking shows. And, yeah, bro, this was when, honest to God, Press, I would record them on VHS tape, honest to God.
Right.
Greek chefs of fill in the blanks. And I'd be sitting there going, oh, that's a saffron shrimp. That's nice with the lemon. And I thought it was just cool, and so I said, well, what the hell? So honest to God, I went to culinary school down in Athens, Georgia. And I'd gone through a couple of semesters and they were, having me, I swear to God, I got reeled into doing a speech for the entire department so that they could do a fundraiser in Athens. And I still crack up over that. But of course, I was the oldest one in the group. And when I'm after a couple of semesters, my chefs look at me and they're just like, why are you here? And I'm just like, I'm going to get my degree in culinary. He says, oh, okay, but you know a good bit already. Why don't you just go to work at the Ritz? And I'm just like, yeah, okay. Because you're going to learn more on the job in many ways than you will sitting in a classroom. And I did, and realized that I was so busy doing that I, wasn't going to keep going after the culinary thing. But there I am at the Ritz in Greensboro, Georgia. And we had, there were scores of the celebrity types that were rolling through at any given time. And I had met the next future ex Mrs. Steve at that property. And matter of fact, we now have sorry, but we have a beautiful little person. She's my third girl in a row, who is 7 years old. What is she, about 4'9" and 71 pounds? She's going to be a very, very tall person. But so in any event, we, the two of us, she and I worked alongside each other for many months. And then we get this call that Carrie Underwood was going to get married at our Ritz, which is interesting because the Ritz was going to charge her $500,000 for everything. That's to have like the big house down by the lake and everything, and to rent out the entire hotel, $500,000 over the weekend. So everybody's got to sign these disclaimers and everything. We only found out later, excuse me, that People Magazine had given her $2 million for exclusivity of photographs of the wedding. No joke. And my executive chef at the time actually made it into People Magazine's issue when Underwood got married. So here's Carrie on property. Here's this, what's his name, Fisher or something like that. I don't even remember. Played for the Calgary Flames. He brought the hockey team with him, and dude, it was carnage. I swear to God. I mean, you try feeding an entire hockey team. We had something like 5 courses. There were roughly 4 chefs active during the whole thing. And of course, my soon-to-be wife at the time is serving Carrie, and I'm prepping the dishes and stuff. And the thing that people don't tell you about restaurant work is the fact that if you're doing this as a career, you stay at a place longer than 18 months, roughly, you're kind of becoming a lifer. So in other words, if you're doing breakfast on one morning at 5:30 at a restaurant, go back in 23 years and you're still doing breakfast. And I just didn't, my future wife and I at the time just looked at each other just like, we're not going to do this. And it's just like, well, where do you want to go? So let's go to South Beach, Miami, to hell with it. And we did, and gathered everything up, moved down to South Beach. And she had gone to the Key Biscayne Ritz, and I went to South Beach, to the old Delano Hotel, which was a swanky place. And people don't tell you about all the politics of this kind of stuff, and it's kind of depressing to talk about. And people ask me, do you still cook today? And it's like, no, I'm too damn bitter. It's kind of stupid. It's like, that's an amazing sauce. Yeah, shut up, just eat it. Okay, whatever. But and it was, again, there were celebs flying all over creation. I think at one point I saw a ticket come through and somebody says, you need to hurry on that. And I'm just like, why? this is Gwendolyn. I don't even know Gwendolyn. And they said, no, it's the Edge. It's the U2 guitarist. He's upstairs. Okay, so what does he want? It's like, I don't get to meet him. I just get to feed his ass. And then, it was fun. And, we had some good experiences, but also realized that some things weren't gonna change. And the kids, from my first marriage were back in North Carolina. So we moved back to North Carolina, and interestingly enough, for all those awful things that were happening while we were down there, we learned that all of our managers and bosses were getting fired like a month or 6 weeks after we'd left. And that I guess there's some sort of solace in that, but it's kind of weird. I don't know if those things happen to you, but it's like when somebody, when you have a passion about something and then it just gets yoked away from you, you just don't really feel it too much anymore.
Yeah. Well,
And
it's, I love to paint. I love art, but I told my wife I want to do it when I retire. I don't want to try to make a living at it because I'm afraid it'll spoil it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you want to ruin something, do it for money.
Yeah, that's it. You're the dad on College Game Day that's just like wearing out the cooker and everything.
Yeah,
like, you got another beer? Do you want another beer? Get him another beer. That's you. And that's cool.
I tell you what, though, I'm going to be self-conscious now if we go back to live classes and I bring your lunch again. Like, here I am coming in with a little wagon with a lunch from Publix, and this guy's been to culinary school. He's gonna be like, that sauce sucks.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, but I mean, when we were, I realized that because as chefing, you're constantly tasting stuff. And we didn't really go very much of anywhere. We're constantly working. And of course, I'm running up and down Collins Avenue to get to work every single day. And but everything you're eating is fresh. It's made fresh. It's over and over and over again. And one day, she says to me, she said, well, let's just go to Chick-fil-A. And I'm just like, you talk about hate chicken. Okay, well, I guess we'll roll out there and go see what's going down. Drove all the way out to Sunrise from Miami and got some sort of combo. And I was like, dude, that is the saltiest stuff I've ever tasted in my life. And you don't, until you've done, months at a time of all that fresh stuff, you don't realize that this is why they call it fast food. I mean,
how much preservatives. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's always some wacky stuff going on, but it's the same thing, Press, that is why I could pick up a hot pan and it didn't burn my fingers. You do it enough and you got the calluses. Today it's like, oh God, the bacon, oh Jesus, everything's hot again because I grew all my skin back, and it's kind of the same.
Like I grew up in the country, man. I could walk down a gravel road barefoot.
That's it.
Full speed. Now I can't even make it to the bathroom barefoot. Ow. And I'm like, man, I used to have tough feet. I've gotten soft.
Yeah. And it's the same way with your palate. I think at least it was for me, because so when you tell me that you're going to bring a wagon full of food and everything, bring it on, bro. Just make my stomach stop hurting. I
have to turn it up a notch now.
I'm not going to taste it.
But speaking of live classes and COVID, and that leads me to my next question. Well, I'm going to do a two-part question. Number one, I mean, nobody knows where this thing's going to go, but do you think it's going to be a two-part question? Do you think we're going to get back to live real estate classes? And two, how do you think COVID's changed the way we're going to do real estate transactions and real estate education moving forward?
That is an interesting battery. And so the quickest answer to the first one is, will live classrooms come back? Yeah. Live classrooms have already started to come back, but what's what's interesting is, briefly, I can tell you that, what was it, July or something of 2019, I'm on a conference call because they, the people with the North Carolina Real Estate Educators Association had been gracious enough to approve me as a member of the board. So I'm on a conference call with the president of the NCREA or NCREA. And of course, I, along with a few of the other board of directors, are on a conference call with the Real Estate Commission. So a couple of members of the commission are sitting there and it's like, well, this is all the data you've been emailed, how we're all going to bring everything online. This was July of 2019.
Well, that was before it broke. So they were already kind of planning to do some stuff online.
Yep. So we're hashing out all of the details and the data. And quite honestly, trying to figure out a way to be as protective of the small business owners as possible in education in North Carolina, because everybody knew, and you've already begun to see the end result when you give these, when you open the floodgates, here come the multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, and they just, woof, it's like, you want CE for $4? Sure.
Yeah.
Like, awesome, I think, because I guess. And, so we were having that conversation all that time ago. Then COVID hits. And that's why, if anybody ever noticed, we made a transition pretty quickly because a lot of that stuff was already written by the commission. So the commission just fast tracked it, popped it into place, and off we went. What has become obvious to many, and we get this as we have conference calls and things now, and we talk, whether it's in a board of directors meeting or whether we're talking in conferences, because we still have the spring conference, we'll have the fall, but now it's been moved to virtual again. Almost everybody is like, dude, 99% of my classes are like, dude, this is what I like. Virtual, this is what I like. And there's always like, I don't know, I miss seeing like Steve. Okay, I miss you too, bro, but I don't know if I can make your coffee really swanky. I mean, and so the point is, people have started to process it. It's just like, what am I doing with my day to travel, 3 hours round trip for the privilege of sitting for 9 straight hours and having your coffee and maybe some kind of shotgun lunch, to go back and do it all again the next day or whatever, if it's pre or it's post, or even if it's CE. I've talked just 3 weeks ago. I had a call from someone who said, you have no idea how convenient this is right now, because normally, but nobody puts classes near where I live. So normally I would have to travel from, like BFE, North Wilkesboro, north of Wilkesboro, and then travel down to Asheville. And it's a day trip, for crying out loud, sometimes overnight stays, because I had to travel so far. And so, even locally, as you see how many people are popping into Raleigh, because Wake is bigger now than Mecklenburg, how many people are popping into Charlotte. It's just it's a migration of human beings coming to the state. And when that's the case, the traffic is bigger. So how long do you want to sit in traffic? And so that's kind of the thought process. I think that it will, excuse me, I think it'll wane the desire for the in-person classrooms, but there will still be a generation of us, and a generation before us that'll be like, I just want that, more personal experience. And so you have to try to figure out a way to get people more engaged, bright, pretty colors, and not so much that, but just letting them know that, this is possible, and it's not as miserable as you might have thought it was going to be. And I hope that people in my classrooms now have that experience. But this is the question about, live virtual pre-licensing or post-licensing, or even CE, right, versus on demand. So, you could go to newriverbrokerage.com and you'll see post-licensing classes. I put them out there as inexpensively as I could. And guess what? They all are on demand. Same thing with the pre-licensing, on demand, right? And why? Because I'll get calls from people and they're just like, dude, I have to work. I have responsibilities. I have kids, or I have all these other things going on. And, the idea that I could come home from a shift, it's like, bro, all I got is 1 hour in me. Okay, we'll go sit and do 1 hour, 1 hour later. And then over the weekend, they got 4 hours in them, but they got to post 75 if it's pre-licensing. Go ahead, do it over 6 months if you want to. You got to post 30 in a post-licensing class. So go ahead and do it. You got 6 months to do it. And you can do it when the spirit moves you.
Yeah.
And that's what people are glomming onto. It's like, this ain't so bad. And so, a lot of the thought process, and I'll tell you very, very briefly, I actually feel pretty confident that I picked up COVID on a West Coast trip, because, I'm like Bad Luck Schleprock. You remember him from the Flintstones and stuff? And I just decided to heck with it. I'd lived for so long and never done anything wacky. And I just took my own butt all the way out to the West Coast because I wanted to see Seattle. I wanted to see my football team play. I wanted to go to Vancouver because I'd never been to Canada. And I got off a flight in Vancouver and waited along with 5,000 Pacific Basin friends right shoulder to shoulder with me in late September of 2019. And within 6 days, I was having light fevers overnight. I'm not joking, for like 2 or 3 nights in a row. And I'd not had that much to drink. Don't look at me in that kind But I mean, honestly, though, so as I'm there, the whole point of this is the fact that when I was in Seattle, when I was in Vancouver, I physically traveled to what they purported to be the largest real estate schools in the city of Seattle. Or Vancouver's a monster. If you've been beautiful places, right? But I get there and there's nobody there. They don't have classrooms. I mean, I had some administrators, and that was it. Why? Because it's been virtual for years, and that's the only way that they do it.
Right.
So, and this was before COVID per se, right? So in other words, in major metropolitan markets in the US, it's been that way for years, and it works. And that's why some of the big conglomerates and the juggernauts out there have already arrived, all swole, because
they've been doing this for a while.
Exactly. They got the markets, and they know the formula. And when they get here, let's be honest, they're dealing with a lot of imports. So if you had lived in California and you've had enough of fires or whichever, or whatever sort of volatility you want to get away from, they make their way here. And this is like, so you do virtual. Okay, good. And they're used to it, right? Yeah. I don't know. It's a loaded question. But the fun part for me is CE still. I still love to be able to offer that live, because why? Call me a little bit selfish, but after you do this a certain length of time, you realize, it's a hard thing to change your life like that in pre and post, to go embark on a brand new career. And even in post licensing, it's like the whole anxiety about passing the test. And it's not that I'm just trying to take the best part of the dish, but I think I kind of am. Because in CE, people come and it's like, bro, just get this over with. And I'm just like, you have another thing coming, and so we'll have a lot of fun. We won't test and there won't be anxiety, but I try to make it less miserable. And it's hard as try as you might to do that in live pre and post classes. So I'm kind of holding my cards on it for a little bit, I guess, Press. I don't know. Right now, pre and post will stay for me. They'll stay on demand, and CE will stay live, but I'll also have some on demand stuff out there too.
I have mixed feelings about it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what my feelings are. It's the market is going to decide, I mean, and I know, being, you can be romantic about business, but that's a fatal flaw. I mean, just ask, Toys R Us or JCPenney's or Sears. I mean, you've got to adapt, or you're going to be a dinosaur. I still love in-person classes, because my whole shtick was, it's Crazy Pants, and they just don't do that well on Zoom because you can't see them. I'm going to have to go to Crazy Shirt. I did the electric company today or something.
That's fantastic. I just saw that. I saw that the other day on TikTok, because my middle daughter insisted that I get on TikTok. And it was the entire intro of the electric company.
Oh yeah, man! Electric. I had my whole electric company, Mr. Rogers, and
but you saw Morgan Freeman, right? Morgan Freeman, on it, doing one of those things.
Yeah. Back when he was like, he still had the deep voice, but he's only like 20 years old. That's right. He's like the narrator of every, he's the narrator in my head of everything.
Absolutely. Hey.
Hello, I'm Bill Gallagher with Superior School of Real Estate, and I'm here with Preston Sandlin of Home Inspection Carolina. Preston, I've always liked your style, especially those pants, and also I've been interested in the home inspection business for a long time.
Well, Bill, that's ironic. I've always admired your style, and I've always admired your ability to educate these fine folks for sometimes 4-8 hours a day. I wish that I could do what you do.
Hey Preston, wouldn't it be cool if we switched? Preston, we sure got what we wished for, buddy.
We sure did. And now that you're the expert, Bill, I mean, you are wearing the pants, and I'm the instructor and the educator. Tell us what Home Inspection Carolina is doing these days to make the home buying process easier for realtors and home buyers.
Well, Preston, all our home inspection reports now are online for the real estate agent and the client to review the report online and to be able to create a repair list basically online by either clicking repair, accept, monetary compensation, and once they prepare the request, they can then press email, text, or print right then.
You mean it's all automated, Bill?
Absolutely, we are high tech.
Wow. What else is Home Inspection Carolina doing different these days?
Well, Preston, we're training our home inspectors to be non-alarmist. We are training them to put things into perspective and to simplify the message for the homeowner.
Non-alarmist is key, Bill. You remember those days of the 100-page reports and those 3-ring binders that would just go on and on and on, la 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 la. Thank you for being a good non-alarmist.
And Preston, one more thing. We fix the small stuff for free. Do you remember when home inspectors always put those little nitpicky items on those reports?
Oh, bless their hearts.
Well, at Home Inspection Carolina, if we can fix it in 5 minutes or less, we do it for free. We're better with a caulk gun than a keyboard any day. We just fix it.
You mean there's no cost for this, Bill?
Preston, it's free.
Wow.
Well, Preston, these pants really are a catch.
Well, Bill, I've enjoyed wearing the suit, but I don't think I could wear it every day because I got to fix the small stuff for free, and I don't want to ruin a good suit.
Preston, it's been a lot of fun flipping the switch.
As I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, I have a suggestion.
What's that?
I think call it slightly audacious, but I'm sitting here looking at your background. I love the Home Inspection Carolina on one side, the Certified Master Inspector on the other. I want you to try to find a place to take a shot of that sort of stuff, maybe your brick background, and just you could start switching pants. Just put them on a hanger. Put them on
Hey, there you go. Put my pants on a hanger.
There's like, bro, pants.
There you go. Yeah, this is my pants. I thought about putting it like in my name. Yeah, like the pair of pants be Home Inspection Carolina, making them the L or something. I don't know.
Hang them up in the back, man. Hang them up with a little polo beside it. One of the.
Yeah. But you know that question about virtual versus in person. I think it's like shopping too. You know, Amazon is, and it's so convenient. I still think though there's a little market for. I mean, I hope I don't sound sexist. Men like to shop too, but like my wife and her sister and their mom, to them, you know how like I'd be like, hey, bro, let's go to the bar and see a game. Not to sound, I know I'm coming off incredibly sexist here, but her sister and mom, to them, that is the equivalent of going shopping to a whole bunch of places. I think that's still going to be a thing, maybe not as, of course, then they come home and buy what they saw on Amazon, but right. There is still a, touch it, feel it, see it up close and personal. And right. I love the convenience of this. And I love, like you said, I remember sponsoring classes, especially like towards the deadline. I'd be talking to somebody, hey, where are you from? Pennsylvania. I drove down here all night. I had to get my credits. I'm like, that's crazy. They had to drive down June 9th, the midnight hour to come in there and take that class so that they didn't lose their North Carolina, and obviously that doesn't happen anymore. What I wish would happen, and I'm sure it's going to happen, I've yet to see a good setup. I wish somebody would sell a setup, some sort of camera. You got to have a front facing and rear facing with microphones that pick up. I wish you could have a hybrid experience that was really like being there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure you could rig it up. I've tried to figure it out myself. How can I rig that up where the people at home, they can see the people who are there, they can ask questions, they can see the instructor. I'm sure there's some way to do it, but I wish there was somebody that offered a turnkey. You got to have a front facing camera, a camera facing the audience, and a camera facing the instructor, and some way to ding or something. I don't know. That's $1 million idea if somebody hasn't made it yet. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the funny thing. We have, when we go in as education providers, the commission will ask, are you going to renew the pre-licensing courses? Yes. Are you going to renew the post-licensing courses? Sure. Are you going to renew the following CE or offer and say, yeah, okay, do this, do this, do this. And it's like bing, 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 all these things. And in the process of getting those approvals, it goes, okay, so are you just offering these on demand? Okay. So
almost like they're like,
right. Honestly. And this is the way you got to look very carefully. Are you going to do it synchronously? And you're sitting there going, hey Siri, what is synchronous? You know, so that becomes one of those. Okay. And then you start to understand that synchronous means that you're live in person and they can see you virtually and it's a real-time experience, right? Are you going to do it, and the on-demand is asynchronous. And so you start to realize, okay, that's self-paced and you don't necessarily, oh, wait a minute. Do you want to blend it? What like a daiquiri or something? Well, absolutely. Do you want to do it where somebody can experience it in person, which is another option, right? Do you want to do it blended where it's in person and synchronous, where you got people that are in the classroom, but you also have people back in Philadelphia, for crying out loud, trying to get the credits? And you bring up an interesting point, but one of the things I think that a lot of us are kind of waiting on, and I've seen some of the data starting to come through about Apple glasses and things like that. Google came out with them years ago, and everybody's like, please, and just ignored them, and they flew away. Yeah. But now they're coming back, and Apple's coming in, and some of the other big hitters again to say, put these glasses on and pick up some stuff. It's like the newer model cars where you can see your speed up in the windshield, that sort of stuff, but you'll always have some data flying around up there. Could that be the answer to the virtual experience of being able to be in a particular place and, still have the feel of that sort of experience? To that end, the virtual reality goggles just flat got to get more affordable. And they have to have, to me, it's a lot like somebody says, you're never going to believe 4K until you absolutely see it. And you're like, okay. And how many years did it take? Years. Because why? Well, the first television's out, it's $83,000. Wait, pick a finger. No, thank you. And so you wait year after year after year. And now you want 4K? Yeah, $600. You got it. When VR goggles start to get like that, and the software and the operating programs, the hardware itself gets to be more affordable and more prevalent, you will see that very thing happening. Where an educator sits on a sound stage and nobody's there, but the educator is giving out the lesson. It's popping up in a virtual reality environment, and everybody can look all around them. It's like, oh, other students, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, no, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I guess the thing that's missing to me in the virtual, I love the virtual, the convenience and all that. The only thing I hate about it though is you miss like some of the feedback, like, when you're live, like I'm giving a presentation or you're teaching, you can tell when you said something interesting or funny, like you get that immediate facial, you're picking up on clues, and that's just not the same, when everybody's on mute. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can kind of look out there and you can see this person's looking down, they're on their phone. Yeah. I mean, I can't tell somebody what to do in their own home. Hey, pay attention.
Right. Well, and that's you raise one of the most interesting conundrums for educators, quite honestly. When is it instruction? When is it a presentation? When is it a performance? Right. You've heard the phrase, and everybody overused it for years, edutainment and stuff. Yeah. It's like, okay, that's jazzy, but does anybody really care? The question is, what sort of experience do they actually have? Are they gonna reach out when they don't have to and open up their mic and say something? I think that there could be some answers on that with the change in the tech and the more affordability that gets put into some of that tech. Making it a lot more agreeable of a more ideally in-person experience. I mean, you see the godforsaken thing that they're dealing with now in India. What are they? The Nipah virus or something, and they're scared to death of it. And it's not COVID. It's totally different. And quite honestly, when you look at it, it's kind of like, we're going to face this. We're going to keep facing this. And when you got 8 billion people laying around on this rock, things are going to happen. So are we going to have something like this of being just like, closed into our quarantined in our houses, or, wearing a mask wherever we go and stuff? maybe that's the new norm. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll always want, like you said, we'll always want to be the type of creatures that want to reach out, grab a hand and say that, that was a great, that's the stuff that I miss, Press.
Yeah.
I've had classes where parents would walk up to me, one lady in particular, and she had walked up to me and she was just crying. She said, I think, you've given me stuff that I feel like now I can talk with my son. And I'm just like, what? And she, I haven't talked to my son in 5 years. And I'm just like, mother of pearl. Yeah. God help. Yeah. Awesome. You're not going to have that virtually. Those things aren't going to happen. You get light bulb moments in some classes, and sometimes you happen to be looking at the right gallery, right? Yeah. And it's like, oh, they're excited. That's awesome.
Well, and you missed that. What was the experience when the air conditioning goes out at the hotel that in the middle of July? You remember that one?
Reach it, Reverend. Dear God. Yeah.
I went to Walmart and bought you a fan, man. I was like, oh, you and those poor people are going to suffer. And it was like, yeah, it was hot that day.
It was nasty. Yeah. So that and body odor is something I probably don't miss very much. And that's the truth.
Well, since I had COVID, I did have COVID. My smell hasn't come back yet. So that's one thing that's one benefit, and I have a French bulldog, and I don't know if you know anything about that breed, but they're known for flatulence. It's
okay. Thank you for that.
But I do worry. I'm like, if the house ever catches on fire or something's burning, I wouldn't know.
I was, I guess, knock on wood, I've been very fortunate not to experience that, but I hear so many people talking about not getting their smell back. And
I can smell just a little bit, but not too much. And I like I said, there's some benefits to that, but I do worry, if I'm ever eating some bad food or sour, I wouldn't know. There's a reason you have smell. It's to protect you, hey, this might make you sick. Don't eat it.
Uh-huh. That's right. Well, that's what Meg's for. Hey, Meg, smell this.
Right. Well, she told me one time, every time you say smell something, I don't, because that's usually not something good. Pull my finger. No, I'm just kidding.
I got you. No, I know what you mean, my man.
Well, you don't get that in the virtual. Thank goodness. Hey, Steve, pull my finger. All right. Don't ever do that. Somebody ever ask you to smell something? Don't. It's usually bad. All right, last question before the lightning round, and then I'll let you go because I've held you up. Good stuff you're dropping here. I think another victim of that too, eventually is going to be the university systems. At some point you'll be like, why am I paying $50,000 a semester to look at a screen? Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. And is this screen $50,000 better than that other screen? Really?
Yeah. No, that's absolutely valid. And the very, that's a big one right there, because the very nature of how that's happening in the US right now is in the midst of a shift. And I don't know, we may live to see it. I don't know, but it's an interesting approach.
Well, and the whole book thing, the books were a racket. I went to college and you had to buy this stupid textbook for $80 freaking dollars.
Yep.
And
adjust that money today.
Yeah,
like $1.25 today or something, right?
Well, it's online somewhere. We know this as a general. I don't want to get on my soapbox, but the reality is, in the old days, somebody owned the information. They owned the list. They owned and you had to pay for access to it. Now with the internet, access is free. Now you just got to be able to present it and be better at it, or services. And that goes for real estate. I hate to say it, but used to, my mom was a real estate agent way back, when the MLS was in a phone book. And in the old days, what it was the MLS. And I hope I'm not hurting anybody's feelings. I'm just don't shoot the messenger. I'm the messenger. You had to pay to be on the list. You had to pay to be part of the list. You had to pay, but now that list is out there. So now the value is in the service, your value, your knowledge of vendors. It's still, there's still value, but it's not access to the list. That's not the value anymore.
Well, and there's a course that I offer. Buddy of mine, Brian Pate, had given me the ability to offer that in a CE class called Real Estate Trends in the 2020s. And I have it out on the website at newriverbrokerage.com. But the one of the segments is a discussion about who CoStar has been acquiring of late. And the companies that they have acquired are giving them the right to start offering residential listing information and the ability to upload residential listing information. This from the largest commercial listing information provider in the US. Nay, they reach Great Britain and parts of Europe. Not kidding. So imagine that you just pay a little fee and suddenly you have access to just about every commercial and residential listing in the US. Did you have to go, renew your realtor status? They're not asking for that, not necessarily.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what is that going to do? I mean, and Brian raised a point. It's like, we don't know, but we hear this all the time, man. It's recycled into, well, realtors are just going to be a thing of the past. Realtors are going away. You hear it in the 70s, you hear it in the 80s, you hear it in the 90s.
No, I don't think it is. I think you just got to change your value proposition. I mean, hey, when I was 16, 17 years old, I changed my own oil. I could still do it today if I had to, but I haven't done that in 30 years because the person down at Jiffy Lube can do it, while I have a Coke and, check my messages and pay bills.
Right.
And they can do it much more efficient than me. Mm-hmm. And I think real estate's going to, and it's like I have an accountant. I started to say I could do my own taxes. I could do my own taxes when I was 16.
Right.
But the reality is my accountant knows enough about it. Honestly, if I did my own taxes, I'd probably pay too much because I don't know, you can write this off. Oh, I didn't know that. And I think that's the way it's going to be with real estate agents. You can plan your own travel, but honestly, I had a travel agent that got me some deals that I wouldn't have been able to get on my own. So, I mean, if you prove your value, and I think that's it. I mean, I think the real estate agents value of knowledge of vendors, the neighborhood, what's happening, what's coming, what's, the flavor of it. I think that's going to be the value. And you're already seeing it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're already seeing it.
And, there's the other factor, which is another discussion we have in that CE course is, think about what was it that was said so long ago, and it's disgusting to think about its origins, but something to the effect of, if you control the message, you control the people. Yeah. So imagine that I'm telling you that you have a transaction that can be all self-contained. We'll help you find a property. We'll move you into the property. We'll help you sell your own property. We'll get through all the data and the details necessary. Just put your name right there. Just put your name right there. Just sign right there. And what do you have? You have a nice little sphere of information that's coming at you. And you're just like, so I just put my name right there. And then you sign right there, right? Well, the difference between that and an active broker is that if that broker's worth their salt, what does your brain do when people start talking to you about, acquiring their house? Your brain goes pop, 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 and it just goes everywhere. Are the people helping you get into your next house in your nicely contained little transaction stopping to say, have you ever thought about paying your house off entirely? Because nobody in America does. What? Little things like that. I mean, and you can do it, on 30-year notes in some circles between 11 and 13 years from start of the loan. And it's incredible to think about, but it's that stuff along with other intricate detail that brokers bring to the table.
And convenience. I mean, and convenience and knowledge and just making it easy. My daughter DoorDash for a little while. Now she's on TikTok. Sarah Margaret on TikTok. If you want to, she's got like 150,000 followers, man. She gets paid to do food reviews. She gets paid to eat, Steve. She gets paid to eat and review.
I believe I have watched it. It is carnage.
It's like crazy. But when she DoorDash, the one thing she kept always saying is like, people are crazy. She said, people will order, an $8 sandwich, pay a $10 delivery fee, and give a $5 tip on an $8 sandwich. It's just like they're paying more, 2-3 times as much in the tip in the delivery fee than the cost of the thing. And I was like, why would people do it? Because it's convenient. I mean, that tells you something about real estate. As long as you can make it convenient and just make it turn, they're doing something, if you, again, like changing my own oil, I could go out in
Yeah.
2 or 3 hours, change my own oil. But if I can go out in 2 or 3 hours and make enough money to pay that and do other stuff, well, do what you do best,
Yeah. It's absolutely true. And I often tell classes, a similar thing, especially when I'm in CE, because it's fun, because most of those are, people who are actually out in the field and trying to produce. But imagine, what is your time worth?
Right.
Do the number on what your time is worth by the hour. And if it's better served for you to get out there and mow that grass, just bear in mind that you have a cost by the hour. What could you do with that
You're
time?
losing money. A lot of people are losing money. Now, if you just like to mow the
Right.
grass because it's your thing, or you like to exercise, I mean, there is satisfaction like, woo, that yard looks good.
Yeah,
but,
the end result is great.
but if you can pay somebody, $40, but it costs you $100 in the time that you lost, I mean, you're losing money mowing your own grass. I mean, I don't know.
So yeah, and it's a lot of questions, and
I struggle with that though. I struggle with that because I grew up in kind of a hard scrabble. You do your own, you don't pay people, but I'm like just what you just said. If you're making X amount per hour doing this, and you can pay somebody, you're losing money if you're doing it. Anyway,
you're better off finding a way to continue to produce.
Right.
You've got to be producing. If you're not producing, you're losing money. And it sounds like it's something that I possess myself on Saturday afternoons and Sundays, and it's not true that much. But it's a lot easier, when you're confined in a space and you're not having to travel, because how many hours do you lose not having to travel places? And so, that it's funny how we can be, more productive when we can focus on our production, and people who purchase can also be more productive with what they do by using people who know all the details about that purchase, not
Right.
just what's being given to them. In that little sphere transaction. It's amazingly convenient. There's no doubt about it. But hopefully the purchasing generations will look at it more carefully and start to understand what the average realtor's going to bring to the table. Many
Awesome.
of them just voluminous knowledge, man. So
Well, Steve, I got to move you into the lightning round. I wish I had a sound effect. Pretend like there's a lightning bolt. All right,
Okay.
let's have some fun. Ginger or Marianne? I'll tell you.
Marianne.
Everybody says that. One person said Ginger. Football or basketball?
Football.
All right. See if you can finish the lyrics to this song. All right, you ready? Here we go.
Miami. South Beach. Bringing the heat. Can y'all feel that? Can y'all feel that? Check it out. Miami, the place where I come let go in Miami.
Can you finish the lyrics, or do you know the name of the song?
Summertime.
No, that's a different one. Same artist.
Damn.
It's that's summertime. I love that song too.
Yeah.
It's what is it? Miami. It's Miami. Well, it's just Miami is the name of it. I obviously, because I saw that you were a cook.
Well, I didn't come up for air very much in Miami.
Yeah, it sounds like you were working the whole time you were there. I was trying to think of something. I either try to think of something of the person or where they're from or something like that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find any like huge artists from Mount Holly. So then I nothing against Mount Holly. Limp Bizkit. Yeah, Fred Durst. Yeah, I'll take that back. And I love Mount Holly. Please, the Whitewater Center. Please don't send me any hate emails.
Have you been to? I don't even remember the name of it. It's a smoke shop or something like that in downtown Mount Holly. Have you been there yet?
No, I've heard about it though. I've heard about it. Downtown Mount Holly's cool.
Yeah. My a buddy of mine has been a buddy since we were in grade school. He opened it up and reworked my grandfather's old tire store press. Honest to God.
Oh wow, that's
it's
that's
wild
awesome.
to walk in there, and the stuff. He has a giant painted brick wall, and they started to sandblast it off, and it had all this stuff about Delta Tire and Robinson
so
treads
cool.
and stuff. And it's my granddad. So I was like, sweet, I'm gonna go get drunk.
That's cool, man. No, I love when they like repurpose like the old
Yeah.
stores and stuff and try to keep a little bit of the this stuff intact. And downtown Gastonia too, man, with that whole with the baseball and they say the trains eventually coming out there. I don't know if that's true, but it's popping.
It has to eventually.
It's popping. All right, so let me finish the lightning round. Christmas Vacation or Elf?
Elf, actually, yeah.
Elf. Animal House or Caddyshack?
Caddyshack.
Celebrity crush.
Celebrity crush. Oh man, God, where do I start? Let me think.
I know that's a tough one. I can come back to that one. That one stumped a couple people, and I didn't. For the listeners, I did not give Steve the questions ahead of time.
See, this is tough because if you pick the wrong generation, you become creepy. So I got to be.
Yeah.
How about Scarlett Johansson? Good.
Scarlett Johansson. Got you. Let me go a little bit more with this or that, and then I'll come back to that question. Are you a dog or cat person?
Right now I have two of the Felis catus at my house, and I don't have the dog yet, but I'm waiting for the right property. So yeah, right now it seems to be cat. Yeah.
I love them both. I will say cats are easier. I have 2 dogs right now, but I grew up with cats. Yeah. I love them both. Would you rather watch something on Netflix or YouTube?
Oh, Netflix. Yeah.
Are you an iOS or Android person?
iOS.
iOS, man, that seems to be the majority. I'm like the holdout, man. I'm the PC/Android. My whole family's like Mac, and I'm square peg.
I got traumatized, man. Windows 95 broke me. The hours spent at a computer watching the spinning hourglass of death. I just wanted to put a.
Oh yeah, have you ever? I swear this has happened. Like I taught I got certified to teach a home inspection update. Well, it was a real estate update. It was 4-hour on home inspection. Mm-hmm. And right before I taught it, like, I swear it was like 8 minutes before class start, it decided to update. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? And this is back like when the update took like an hour.
Yeah.
It spin it, and you couldn't stop it. I'm like, you're kidding me. You're doing this to me right now, and I'm getting ready to do it, brother. So I somehow winged it till the first break and then got caught up. I just like from memory, but fun stuff. Beach or mountains?
Oh, that's tough. Mountains, probably because my when I was really, really little, I have an older brother and a younger brother. My dad bought Mill Ridge Ski Mountain.
Oh yeah, that's the first place I went to ski. Right? Yeah, I know where that is.
We probably skied side by side, man.
Yeah, I love that place. It's a little place right there on the side, right off the highway there. Yeah.
Go for it. He called it the steepest slope in the southeast. It was just a giant boulder that lasted.
Yeah. There's houses there now. There's houses because I would go by there and I'm like, that used to be a ski slope. I'll tell you, Steve, the very first time I went to ski, I was in high school. I went to Mill Ridge. And I had a brand new pair of jeans that day. It was back when you got the back to school, for $12 or something.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, the Levi's that were stiff as a board. And my point for telling this is, so it was my first time. So I fell. And every time I fell, it left a little blue mark.
Exactly.
And by the end of the day, it looked like a blue snow cone. Little blue mark here, there, everywhere. And, my jeans looked like acid wash jeans by the end of the day. So
right.
Broke them in.
Man, that's funny stuff.
Would you rather go to a theme park or a day at the beach?
Probably a day at the beach. Yeah.
Same. Coffee, hot or cold?
Probably hot, I guess. Yeah.
Toilet paper over or under? Beard or mullet?
Oh dear God. Toilet paper over. And I would never mullet ever again. No. Just no.
I know some inspectors that will actually change it. Like,
wow.
I see it, they'll change it. I'm like, man, don't be messing with people's toilet paper. They like it that way. But yeah, I'm a beard guy too. I can't see a mullet on the toilet paper. And last question. Now remember, this is a G-rated show. What is the craziest or weirdest real estate story or craziest thing you've ever seen or heard of happening in a real estate transaction or story? There's probably a bunch.
Well, no, on the spot, I could probably over a minute or two probably come up with some others, but I would say from a real estate story perspective, it would be the thing that made me become an instructor, quite honestly. We put a modular house in a subdivision with modular houses in it. And there's been some contention about, on frame versus off frame. And quite honestly, a lot of that discussion has been started by lenders who don't know the structural integrity of these things. You know them well. And when you ask people, like on frame versus off frame mod, a lot of people go, oh God, it's a trailer if it has like steel growth. It's like, bro, there should be no problem getting you financing either way, unless you're having to educate a lender, which I've done for years. In any event, we had a couple approach us about putting a house in a subdivision in Lincoln County. And the subdivision already had a modular house there. We took the deed restrictions, put them in front of the lawyer, and the lawyer looked it over and goes, why did you just waste $50 with me? And I'm just like, because I'm not a lawyer. And he goes, these are fine. There's nothing in here that will cause you any jeopardy at all. And so, go ahead. So we bought the lot. We put a condition. Actually, I wrote the condition in the contract that it had to be approved for single family residential on frame modular purposes, right? And bought the lot, bought the house, cleared off the lot. And when it's late, it was like 6 or 7 years after the subdivision started. The subdivision had just, the lots left over are garbage. So the people picked the one that was up on this hill. And Press, I don't have a place to put a 45-ton crane on a hill. I would much rather prefer just getting a bang out, 2x10 on 16 center floor box and picking them up off a flatbed and setting them on a foundation. I'd much prefer that. But because they chose that hill, that's why I wrote the lot acquisition the way that I did. And we had to drag the damn pieces up over the top. And we raise up the roof and it's like a 7, 8, 12 pitch or something. And I'm going to do this little swanky saddle roof thing coming off on a front porch. And we've already dug the septic, dug the well and everything. And we're just like weeks away from closing it because the couple had a baby on the way. They'd locked their rate. It was FHA paper. And my brother gets served by the sheriff. He's just like, you got to show up in Lincoln County Court in 10 days. This is an injunction. Stop doing what you're doing. And, we're just like to ask, what did we do, And so we get there. And of course, we had no lawyer of any kind. My dad selected them and that was not good. When we got there, the guy was just like, this mobile home was brought in a mobile home fashion into mobile home pieces, pulled over the top of a mobile home foundation. And I'm just like, this was never a mobile home. It's not manufactured. It's modular, and I'm leaning forward to my lawyer going, will you shut this guy up? Because it's the whole point of why we're here. And she leans back. She goes, just let him go. Just let him go. And I'm just like, why would you let him go, dude? I mean, I barely watch Matlock and I know better than this. I swear to God.
Objection.
Can I object to counsel? Can I get rid of you now? And of course they had a whole battery of people from the subdivision in there because everybody thought it was a trailer. And we hadn't put up the brick wall yet. You can drive through it to this day and you A, do not know that it's modular, and B, you do not know that it's on a steel chassis, because who freaking cares? I mean, what you do about, and this is such another discussion, I'm sorry to drag you, but the thing about the structural integrity, I have asked countless engineers. I'm just like, okay, so you have an option. You want your entire floor box to be made of 2x10 #2 spruce pine on 16-inch center, or do you want 2x6 #2 spruce pine over the top of 4 10-inch steel I-beams? Which one has the better structural integrity? When you ask somebody that way, they go, oh yeah, steel. Yeah, I mean, hello, it's kind of termite resistant. Call me crazy, and so when you look at it, it's all about perspective. If you were raised thinking that it's on steel, it must be a trailer, then you'll sit there and I don't want no personal property. I'm going to lose value in my trailer, and it's just wrong. It's just wrong. There's so much misinformation out there, and we lost that first hearing. But then won in summary judgment 10 months later when I went to Raleigh to get counsel that worked directly with the Manufactured Housing Institute and the fire marshal's office that actually gives the licenses for this stuff. And I remember calling the guy, and he's like, we get dozens of these every single year, dozens, and they still do to this year, which is hilarious, because when you think about how much construction do you see out on the road, most of the track built homes are built panelized, sections, for crying out loud. And I'm just like, okay, so how much site built does actual site built make? Is there a percentage, or no, we stop what you're doing. If it's modular, it must be different. No, it's not. It's the same damn code. And so it's really, really frustrating because, ask an appraiser, the appraiser, to my knowledge, and I'm not an appraiser, they'll tell me this, like, dude, I use site built comparables. I'm supposed to. If realtors, if brokers are trying to ascertain the value of a modular, or rather the appropriate range of list price on a modular property, they're supposed to use modulars, or guess what, site built houses, because it's the same code. So there's a disconnect with all that stuff, and that's the long version of my craziest story, because you do business the way we did, and we, it's not like we're lurking in the shadows or anything. We tried like crazy to have simple discussion with the neighbors and the subdivision, and they wouldn't have it, and that's okay. Unfortunately, it turned out 10 months later the people couldn't qualify for their loan anymore. We had to sell it to somebody else, and Pop and I were just banging product. Just developing subdivisions and projects all over creation. It just skidded everything, and I was pretty pissed. That's when I
can tell. I think it's still a little sore subject. I'll tell you this, man, the modular homes have come a long way. I remember when I was a kid, it was like you bought it on the side of 85 up in Greensboro or something. Yeah. Yeah. And it looked like a modular home, but now, dude, you can't tell there's been a bunch, from a home inspection perspective, until we got up in the attic, we could tell, because just the way the
marriage wall is 1 foot thick. Yeah.
But exactly. But I like them. I think they're, most of those houses, there's obviously a stigma or stimulus, whatever you want to call it, about prefab or the pre-built and all that. But I'll tell you, from a home inspection standpoint, I like it as long as they followed all because it's pre-engineered to, as long as they didn't make any modifications to it, it's probably, if they, erected it the way it was supposed to be done, it's I hate to use the word dummy proof. That's not a good thing to say, but I can't think of anything else right now. But it's like, it's pre-engineered. Honestly, we find more stuff on custom homes because they're building it from a blueprint. The first one. But a lot of times, houses that are they've built it 100 times. And as long as they didn't, cut those trusses to put stairs in or something, they're probably going to be all right.
It's just stamped out at a factory, just like the roof trusses stamped out at the factory. The walls panelized, stamped out at a factory. Some of the track builders, I think Pulte pulled back on their penetration of that type of market in the Southeast. But to my knowledge, and again, this is limited knowledge, they still have that supported in other segments of America. Because it's efficient. They've been quoted as shaving 14 days off of their build times by being able to bring in predetermined plans on a flatbed truck, offload them, and bang, 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 bang on top of a mono slab, and there you go.
And I know a lot of people are like, oh, they don't build them the way they used to, or I don't like that, or traditional. I'll say, well, go back and look at Sears homes and Harris homes. Actually, from World War I to World War II, that was the main way they built. You would buy a kit home and it would come to you in a rail car, everything you needed. And it was all done. And actually, those are some cool houses, man. And there's some around Charlotte and Dilworth, but there's a bunch in Asheville. If you ever get a chance, look up like Sears home. Well, Sears was just one of them. There was a bunch of them. But you bought a kit, and some like the Magnolia. And all, I mean, they're really cool little houses, man. Well, not all small either, but you know, that's been around for a while. It's just a little bit different, but it's been around.
A couple of quick hits, and I'll shut up. But in all truth, the number one method of construction that I've heard in the country of Japan is modular. That's the way they build things. That's the way they've always built things. To them, it just made sense. I'm going to build your floor box on a template, you know, on an assembly line with a third-party inspector that's not going to let it go out the door unless they make sure it's absolutely right. You know, I'm never going to let you have a drop of rain hit it until it arrives at the site when the damnable shingles are already on it, that sort of stuff. And hey, there was a case about 2 years ago. There was a guy putting up, I want to say it was roughly either a 10 or 11 story apartment tower in San Francisco. Now, an acquaintance of mine does work all the time in San Francisco, and I had enough conversation with him. He's like, dude, it's one of the most horrific experiences you'll have trying to build anything in San Francisco. This joker was in downtown San Francisco, some part of town in San Fran, and he wants to put up a 10-story apartment tower. So he did it all modular. And there were actual television interviews and people like sticking microphones in his face. It's like, dude, you know, I'm in and out of here in about 90 days, not like 8 or 9 months. I'm not stopping traffic with my concrete trucks and all this other crap. It's over, you know, in a 90-day period of time. It's like bang, bang, and up it goes. And guess what? It's the same building code. It was quicker. You know, you have no problem getting on a cruise ship, unless, of course, COVID, and getting in those modular staterooms that were built in a controlled environment and then welded to a freaking hull. I mean, hello, it's the exact same stuff. Marriott, I can't remember where the structure is, but I think it's in Texas. I know there's one in the San Antonio Riverwalk. Has a 13-story, I think it's a Hilton property, modular hotel. And that's
I've got to go. I might check that out. I've got to go in November. I've got to go to
San Antonio.
Yeah,
no, check it out. They actually, well, when I was there, they were giving out little sheets at the front. They probably don't do it anymore. It was sitting on the counter. It's like, grab this sheet, and I'm looking at it. So you're standing in a modular hotel, and I'm like, what the ass? I mean, yeah, the first couple of floors are the kitchens and the ballrooms and all that other crap. But after that, everything up is modular. They just slipped it in, and boom, instant hotel room. And why not? Yeah. You know, and think about it from a labor perspective, Press. You know, what about, have you ever had to deal with plumbers? No. Right. And not to dig at plumbers, but in truth, you know, many times there's a routine that they go through. You know, they show up on a property, they've bought materials for the property, and then they're like, I better go take care of this, and off they go. You know, and you're just like, are they coming back? And it's not all of them, you know, some of them are absolutely amazing, but a lot of them that I've dealt with, you know, that's just kind of the norm. Are they show up today? It might be early next week. I don't know. But imagine they're on a time card, click, and they show up in your factory to do the plumbing that day. And what kind of plumbing do you do when it's modular, you know, or even manufactured for that matter, and you bring it to the site, and you're building it to FHA VA specs, and you know, you just plug the sections up. Boop, boop, boop. I mean, and it's already been approved by a third-party state inspector. It's phenomenal stuff.
I like it. I mean, it's, you know, as long as it, you know, looks, and they do look good. I mean, they do look good. I think, you know, we're all, myself included, you know, we're resistant to change. You know, we're like, we always done it this way. You know, we should always, you know, we always did it that way. Well, you know, we used to spray with DDT too, and that turned out to not be a good idea.
Right. That's right.
You know, sometimes change is a good thing. I'll leave you with one other thing that I wish they would do here. I'm seeing it pop up around as far as reuse, recycle, and modular is these. I love them, man. They've got one the container, like they're making these like cool like restaurant shops like a little container city. We went to one out in Las Vegas. We've been to one in Greenville, South Carolina, and there's one in RTP we just went to. And it's, they use those shipping containers, and, they kind of move more. I mean, they're solid. I mean, they're very structurally sound, and, it's just cool, man, like walkways. And there's one at RTP. I think it's Box City or Box something. My daughter found it. Yeah. And there's, barbecue place, ice cream, just a little shopping. And it's so cool, man. I wish Charlotte, I'm sure it's going to, would get, container city or container town. It's cool.
And I've actually stumbled across a few of those in the last couple of years. And I know of people that are buying them up and literally storing them in anticipation of what you're talking about. So they make their inroads with planning and zoning in various spots in metro areas in the U.S., they'll start to move those pieces around, and you'll see it's tantamount to a commodity.
If you find yourself down in Greenville, South Carolina, go to the one there. It's really cool. I love Greenville, by the way. It's a cool city.
By the way, I did have one question to pose for you. Don't people still think that tiny houses are cute? Is it fair to assume that most people say tiny houses are cute? I'd love a tiny house. Maybe I'll put a tiny house in my backyard and rent it out as an Airbnb. Why? Because #tiny house. I mean, oh, really? Okay. It's modular.
I know. They are modular.
So help me out. All right. So it's cute. How cute is it? Is it cute enough for you to get over a stigma? And that's, I don't know. I'd actually had that conversation with the commission for years now, And I'd like to think that I'd made some progress, but for the most part, I've told them, I'm just like, the very idea that MLS demands that you select that a house is modular is a lot of it signing off on a stigma, because a stigma is a lot of it rooted in emotion, not something rooted in fact. Right. And so it takes some time, and the lenders have to be educated. They're not infallible. And it takes more patience than agents are prepared to give. Let's be honest, the newest agents out there are the ones that get fed this stuff the most. Yeah, because they're going to have to go out into the nether regions of metro areas and try to make chicken salad out of chicken poo. I have this trailer in the middle of a field. I have a modular on this lot in who knows where, North Carolina, and you still got to list it, you still got to sell it, but you don't know how. And there are ways to do it. And I'm actually working on updating my course that I started with 20 some odd years ago. And I'll see if I can't get it out there for maybe springtime if the opportunity presents.
Awesome.
So awesome. I think it's overdue, and now's the time, I think.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, as we draw to a close here, tell us if somebody needs CE, tell us again about your offerings, how they can get in touch with you, and for the school and, real estate, just what, give us some, how can they contact you? How can they sign up for your class? All that good stuff.
Yeah. Fantastic. NewRiverBrokerage.com is the homepage. That'll show you the educational links you can send your friends or family members to look at the pre-licensing packages that I think are pretty nifty. Again, self-paced, they last for 6 months. So it gives you the opportunity to just kind of trudge and push your way through there and try to get that license, which a lot of people want to do. The post-licensing, I actually have it priced for all three at $420 because I like that number. It's just, sorry, Chris. Anyway, but no, in truth, I mean, it's all three for $420 in post-licensing. That's accessible through the education page, which is right front and center. CE right now is, I ran a sale. I started a sale yesterday. And I ran another thing when about 10 o'clock this morning, it should have dropped via email, which is 20% off your purchase of $100 or more. So that, like tomorrow, I teach a broker in charge update, and I also teach an ethics course in the afternoon. So the ethics thing takes care of, and that's virtual live. You get a Zoom connection and all that fun stuff. But the ethics thing takes care of your realtor obligation.
Yeah, I've got to do that. That's due like December, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah, December
I got to
31st.
do it. Yeah, I need to.
Now
find
go
out.
back and look, and you can look at ncrec.gov, log in and look at your CE license information. It's literally called that, CE license information, and look back and see if you took any ethics-based course like a CE elective since the January 1st of 2019.
Yeah, it's every 2 years, right?
Yeah, every three. They
Three.
stretched it out to every 3. So starting January 1st, 2019, if you don't have that ethics course and you want to stay a realtor between then and to say December 31st, come see me. And this will take care of it. So it's kind of jazzy. You get NAR credit, but you also get elective credit with the real estate commission. Again, the cool part about the 20% sale that I'm running right now on CE is the fact that I'm going to have it live and it's going to be working until September 22nd, like next week. And it's for any classes, any 2 classes that you buy that I have scheduled between now and the end of the year. So in other words, if you can't come see me this week or next week, come see me in December. I got people signing up in October, November, et cetera, and just, sign up, buy the classes now and come back around and see me, but save about $23 or something on two CE classes, $23.80 or something like that. Hey man, it's a trip to McDonald's.
There you go. Awesome. And when you take that class, stay and listen to the sponsors. I hear they're pretty good.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a little biased.
But I'm also, also they're more than welcome to take a look at that referral thing at the bottom of every page and send me folks that it's basically 25% of the selling or listing side for a name. On the first transaction, I'll let you have 25% of what I earn. If I'm able to close the thing, I'll pay you if you bring me somebody who wants to build a house on site. Right. I have a contractor that can do some work for me and build on site. I can also do modular. I can do manufactured, and all that stuff is accessible on the website as well. Or just send me an email, steve@newriverbrokerage.com.
Well, after this conversation, I definitely think if I had anything a modular question, I'm like, Steve would be the guy I go to because he's had experience with this.
And it's again, it's something that has just continually flown under the radar. And, now investors are looking very, very carefully at this stuff. You don't have to lay out an arm and a leg to get, several manufactured homes that you could either put on the ground, turn and move, or put on the ground and rent 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah,
and then
especially with this market.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well,
it's out there.
One last time, Steve, what's the website and your email if somebody want to get in touch with you?
Thank you, sir. It's newriverbrokerage.com. And steve@newriverbrokerage.com will get me by email.
Awesome. Well, Steve, thank you so much for your time. I know the listeners appreciate it, and they're gonna get a lot of value out of this. So if you're listening out there, go check out his website. You got a Facebook page too, right? Do you have a Facebook page?
I do. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that's actually, if you're a licensee and you're active, you got that email from me today, and I'm happy to forward it to you if you want to request it.
Yeah. Please
email.
do.
And that'll take you to the site, and then you can poke around and see all those things that are available and all that data. There's a bunch of stuff on that website. So
awesome. Well, we'll catch you on the flip side, Steve.
You've been listening to the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast with your host, Preston Sandlin. Join us on the next episode where we'll be talking to a successful agent or vendor about the right things to do and the wrong things you should avoid. Join us on the next episode of the Successful Real Estate Broker Podcast.